Xerath felt the world spin as her scout ship crashed into the rocky ground of Zarian 7. Metal screamed against stone. Sparks flew everywhere. The ship rolled 3 times before it finally stopped moving. She opened her eyes slowly. Everything hurt. Her head felt heavy and wet. When she touched it, her hand came away covered in purple blood. The beautiful blue feathers on her arms were dirty and broken. Some had fallen out completely. The ship was dead. All the lights were off. The engines made no sound. Even the emergency system stayed silent. She tried to move and cried out in pain. Her right wing was twisted in a way that wings should never twist. The bones stuck out through her feathers. Her left wing was bent backward. Both wings were completely useless. Xerath H was a Velinari. Her people were proud, bird-like beings who ruled the skies. They had the best pilots in the galaxy. They had the fastest ships. They had won every air battle for the last 1,000 years. But now she could not even lift her wings. She remembered what happened. Her ship had been flying a normal patrol around this empty planet. Everything was going well. Then a bright flash filled the sky. All her instruments went crazy. The ship started falling like a stone. She tried everything to save it, but nothing worked. The electromagnetic pulse had killed everything electronic on her ship. But who had attacked her? There was supposed to be no one on this planet. The surveys said it was empty. Just rocks and poisonous plants and dangerous animals. No intelligent life. No cities, no weapons that could create such a pulse. The twin suns of Zarian 7 burned down on her broken body. The heat was terrible. She could smell her own blood cooking on the hot metal of her ship. In the distance, she could hear things moving. Big things, hungry things. They would smell her blood soon. She tried to reach her emergency radio, but it was too far away. Even if she could reach it, the electromagnetic pulse had probably broken it too. No one would hear her calls for help. No one would come looking for her. This was supposed to be a quick patrol. She would not be missed for many hours. Xerath closed her eyes and thought about her homeworld. She thought about the great cities built in the clouds. She thought about the wind under her wings as she soared through the endless sky. She thought about her family. Her mother would be proud that she died as a warrior, even if it was in a stupid crash. In Velinari culture, a bird who could not fly was already dead. It was better to die with honor than to live as a burden to others. Her people had songs about warriors who died alone and forgotten on distant worlds. Soon she would become one of those songs. She could smell something new in the air now. Something sweet and sick. The carnivorous plants were releasing their spores. The tiny seeds would get into her lungs and grow there. They would eat her from the inside. It would not be a good death, but it would be quick. The sounds in the distance were getting closer. She could see shapes moving between the rocks. The local predators had found her. They looked like huge lizards made of crystal. Their eyes glowed red in the harsh sunlight. They moved carefully, testing the air. They knew she was wounded. They knew she could not escape. Xerath tried to sit up, but the pain was too much. Her body would not obey her. She was trapped in the wreckage like an insect in a web. All she could do was wait for death to come. She began to sing the death song of her people. It was an old song about flying into the sun, about choosing when to die, about going to the skylands where all Velinari warriors went when they died in battle. Her voice was weak and broken, but she sang anyway. The crystal lizards heard her song and moved closer. They were not afraid. They knew she was helpless. One of them was as big as her crashed ship. Its teeth were like knives. Its claws could cut through metal. It would probably eat her alive. She had always thought she would die in space. Maybe in a great battle against the enemies of her people. Maybe defending her homeworld from invasion. Maybe saving the lives of other warriors. She never thought she would die alone on a poisonous planet, eaten by animals that did not even know her name. The spores were getting thicker now. Each breath brought more of them into her lungs. She could feel them starting to grow. Soon they would start eating her organs. The pain would be worse than anything she had ever felt. But at least it would end quickly. The biggest crystal lizard came closer. It was only a few steps away now. She could see her reflection in its red eyes. She looked terrible. her beautiful feathers were gone. Her proud wings were broken, her warrior's armor was cracked and dirty. She did not look like a proud Velinary warrior anymore. She looked like prey. She stopped singing and waited. This was how her story would end, not in glory, but in pain and fear and loneliness. The lizard opened its mouth wide, its breath smelled like rotting meat. Its teeth were longer than her fingers. Then she heard something impossible. Footsteps, someone was coming, but that was crazy. There was no one else on this planet. No one else knew she was here. She must be hearing things. The spores must be making her imagine sounds, but the footsteps kept coming. The crystal lizard heard them too. It turned its head and made a low, growling sound. Whatever was coming, it was real. And it was not afraid of the biggest predator on the planet. H tried to look, but she could not turn her head enough. All she could see were her broken wings and the twisted metal of her ship. But someone was definitely coming. Someone was going to find her. She just hoped they would be quick about killing her. She had suffered enough. The footsteps stopped right behind the crystal lizard. Xerath still could not see who was there, but she heard a voice. It spoke in the common galactic language, but with a strange accent she had never heard before. "Hey there, big guy. You look hungry, but she's not on the menu today." The crystal lizard turned around fast. It made an angry sound deep in its throat. Xerath heard the whine of an energy weapon charging up. Then there was a bright flash and a loud crack. The lizard screamed and jumped backward. It had a black burn mark on its side. That was just a warning shot. "Next one goes through your head. Now get lost." The lizard looked at the newcomer for a long moment. Then it made a disappointed sound and walked away. The other crystal lizards followed it. Soon they were all gone. Xerath heard the footsteps coming toward her. A shadow fell across her face, blocking out the burning sun. She looked up and saw the strangest being she had ever seen. It was a human. She knew about humans, but she had never seen one in person. They were a young species that had only joined the galactic community a few years ago. Most aliens thought they were soft and weak. They had no natural weapons. No thick skin or sharp claws. No ability to fly or breathe underwater. They were just pink and fragile and strange. This human was a soldier. His armor was green and brown, designed to blend in with forests and grasslands. It was covered with scratches and burn marks. His weapon looked simple but effective. His face was hard and serious, but his eyes were kind. "Well, you're in a real mess, aren't you?" he said. He knelt down beside her and started looking at her injuries. His hands moved quickly and carefully. "I'm Staff Sergeant Marcus Chun, Terran Colonial Marines. What's your name?" "Xerath," she whispered. Her throat was so dry it hurt to talk. I was a scout pilot for the Velinary Defense Force." "Nice to meet you, Xerath. Don't worry. I'm going to get you out of here." She tried to shake her head, but it hurt too much. "No, leave me. I am already dead. My wings are broken. A Velinary who cannot fly is no Velinary at all." Marcus looked at her like she had said something very stupid. "You're breathing. Your heart is beating. That means you're alive. Everything else we can figure out later." He pulled a small bag from his belt and started taking things out of it. Medical supplies, tools she did not recognize. He worked fast, like he had done this many times before. "This is going to hurt," he said. "But I need to stop the bleeding first." He sprayed something on her wounds that felt like ice water. The bleeding slowed down and then stopped completely. Then he gave her an injection that made the pain go away. Not completely, but enough that she could think clearly again. "Human medicine," he explained. "It's not fancy, but it works. We've had a lot of practice patching people up." He started working on her wings. He moved them very carefully, checking each bone. Every time she made a sound of pain, he stopped and waited for her to feel better. No one had ever been so gentle with her before. "The bones are broken, but they're not shattered," he said. "I can set them, but I need something to use as splints." He looked around and found some pieces of metal from her crashed ship. They were the wrong shape and size, but he bent them with his hands until they fit. Then he wrapped them to her wings with strips of cloth torn from his own uniform. There, that should hold them in place while they heal. Xerath stared at him in amazement. Why are you doing this? You do not know me. I'm not even human. My people have no alliance with your people. Marcus shrugged. You needed help. I was here. That's all the reason I need. She had heard that humans were like this. They formed emotional bonds with other species, just like they did with each other. Most aliens thought it was a weakness. How could a species survive if they worried about everyone instead of just taking care of themselves? But looking at this human, Xerath did not see weakness. She saw strength. Not physical strength, though he was certainly strong enough, but a different kind of strength. The strength to do what was right even when it was dangerous. I have been stranded here for 6 days, Marcus said as he worked. My unit got hit by the same electromagnetic pulse that brought you down. We were scattered all over this rock. I've been looking for survivors ever since. Have you found any? 2 others so far. A Krex engineer and a silicoid data courier. Both hurt pretty bad, but alive. I've got them in a safe place about a mile from here. Xerath was shocked. Those species were not allies of humanity either. In fact, the Krex had been at war with the humans just last year. You saved enemies? I saved people who needed help, Marcus corrected her. The war is over. And even if it wasn't, they were hurt and scared and far from home. Just like you. He finished with her wings and started building a shelter over her. He used pieces of her ship and some rocks to make walls that would block the wind and sun. He worked for 2 hours without stopping. His own water supply was running low, but he shared it with her anyway. You should save that for yourself, she said. Water doesn't do me any good if you die of thirst. When the shelter was finished, he set up his weapon to guard the entrance. Then he sat down beside her and shared his food. It was some kind of dried meat and vegetables. It tasted strange, but it was the best meal she had ever eaten. Why don't you tell me about your home? He said, What's it like to fly? So she told him about the cloud cities of her world. About soaring through storms and racing with the wind. About the joy of diving through clouds and feeling the sky embrace her like an old friend. Marcus listened to every word. He asked questions that showed he really cared about her answers. As the sun set and the planet grew cold, he gave her his jacket. It was too big for her, but it was warm and it smelled like safety. For the first time since the crash, she began to believe she might actually survive. Get some sleep, Marcus said. I'll keep watch. Tomorrow we'll figure out how to get you to the others. You should rest too. You have been awake for 6 days. He smiled. It was the first time she had seen him smile. It changed his whole face, made him look younger and less tired. Sleep is for people who don't have friends to protect. Friends. He called her a friend. They had known each other for only a few hours, but he was already willing to die for her. She finally understood why humans were dangerous. Not because they were strong or smart or cruel, but because they could make anyone feel like family. Xerath woke up when she felt the ground shake. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then she remembered the crash, the pain, and the strange human who had saved her life. Marcus was already awake and looking through a small device that showed him what was happening outside their shelter. What was that? She asked. Earthquake. Small one. This planet has a lot of them. Marcus put the device away and checked her wings. The splints were still in place. How do you feel? Better. The pain is less. She was surprised that this was true. Human medicine was supposed to be primitive compared to veterinary healing technology, but she felt stronger today than she had since the crash. Good, we need to move soon. Those crystal lizards have friends and they're getting bolder. He handed her some food and water. Eat up, we have a long day ahead of us. While she ate, Marcus packed his equipment. He moved with the smooth efficiency of someone who had done this many times. Every motion had a purpose. Nothing was wasted. Marcus, she said, why did your people join the galactic community? Most species stay on their own worlds until they are forced to leave. but humans spread out to the stars as soon as they could travel between worlds. He stopped packing and looked at her. That's a good question. I guess it's because we get lonely easily. Back on Earth, we were never really alone. We always had other animals around us. Dogs, cats, horses, birds. We learned to work with them, to take care of them. When we reached the stars and found other intelligent species, it felt natural to try to make friends with them. But many species have rejected your friendship. The Krek shot at your ships for months before you finally fought back. The hegemony still considers humans to be inferior. Why do you keep trying? Marcus smiled sadly. Because the alternative is being alone. And humans don't do well alone. We need connections. We need to feel like we're part of something bigger than ourselves. He finished packing and came over to help her stand up. Her wings were useless, but her legs still worked. With his help, she could walk slowly. Tell me about the others you saved, she said as they left the shelter. Crix is the Krex engineer. His ship was shot down in the same attack that got us. He was trapped under a piece of his engine for 2 days before I found him. Poor guy was convinced I was going to kill him. Did you consider it? No, well, maybe for about half a second. His people did kill some of my friends. But when I saw him lying there, hurt and scared, all I could think about was helping him. Marcus stopped to let her rest. He's a good person. He showed me pictures of his family. His kids looked just like him, all green and scaly and cute. Zareth had never heard anyone call a Krex cute before. They were known for being cold, calculating, and ruthless in business. But humans seemed to see something different in everyone they met. What about the Silicoid? Nex is harder to understand. Her people communicate mostly through chemical signals, and I don't have the right equipment to translate properly. But she seems grateful. She keeps making these musical sounds whenever I bring her food. They walked for an hour through the rocky landscape. Marcus had to carry her twice when the ground became too rough for her to manage with her injured wings. He never complained, never acted like she was slowing him down. In my culture, she said during one of their rest stops, what you are doing would be considered weakness. A true warrior focuses on the mission first. Personal attachments make you vulnerable. Maybe that's true, Marcus said. But I've seen what happens to species that only care about themselves. They get strong, but they never get wise. They conquer planets, but they never really live on them. What do you mean? Look at the hegemony. They have the biggest fleet in the galaxy. They can destroy entire star systems with a single ship. But have you ever seen one of their worlds? They're all the same. Cold, efficient, empty. No art, no music, no joy. Just work and duty and more work. Zareth H. thought about her own world. The Cloud Cities were beautiful, but they were also very organized. Every Velinary had a role to play. Every day was planned from sunrise to sunset. There was not much room for individual choice or personal happiness. Humans are different, Marcus continued. We make art that serves no military purpose. We keep pets that give us nothing but companionship. We tell stories that teach us how to be better people, not just better soldiers. Can you tell me one of these stories? Marcus thought for a moment. There's an old human story about a man who was traveling between cities. He was robbed and beaten and left for dead on the side of the road. 2 different people came by. Both were from his own people, his own religion. Both were important and powerful. But they were too busy to help him, so they walked past. Then what happened? Then a stranger came by. Someone from a different people, a different religion. Someone who had every reason to leave the injured man behind. But instead he stopped. He bandaged the man's wounds, took him to an inn, and paid for his recovery. That seems wasteful. Maybe, but the point of the story is that being good to others is more important than being efficient. That compassion is stronger than prejudice. They reached the top of a hill and Marcus pointed to a cave in the distance. There, that's where the others are waiting. As they walked toward the cave, Zareth noticed something that made her stop. Marcus, there are fresh footprints here. Large ones. Marcus knelt down and examined the tracks. His face became serious. Crystal stalkers. A whole pack of them. They found our trail. What are crystal stalkers? Think crystal lizards, but smarter. And they can phase through solid matter when they hunt. And they're about 3 times bigger. Xerath felt her blood grow cold. How many are in a pack? Usually 6 to 8. But I've seen packs with as many as 12. Marcus checked his weapon. We need to get to the cave fast. The others can't defend themselves. They hurried toward the cave as fast as Xerath could manage. But they were too late. The sounds of fighting were already coming from inside. Marcus handed her a small energy pistol. Stay here, he said. If anything that isn't me comes out of that cave, shoot it. I cannot fight with broken wings. I will only slow you down. You don't need wings to pull a trigger. He looked directly into her eyes. I need you to guard my back. Can you do that? No one had asked for her help since the crash. Everyone had assumed she was useless without her ability to fly. But Marcus was trusting her with something important. He was treating her like a warrior again. Yes, she said. I can do that. Marcus smiled and ran into the cave. Xerath took position behind a rock and watched the entrance. She could hear him shouting commands in the human language. There were loud crashes and the sound of energy weapons firing. Then one of the crystal stalkers phased through the cave wall right behind her, its red eyes fixed on her broken wings. It thought she would be easy prey. Xerath raised the pistol with both hands and fired. The shot hit the stalker in the center of its forehead. It made a surprise sound and fell over dead. I may not be able to fly, she said to the dead creature, but I am still Velinari. For the first time since her crash, she felt like herself again. The fighting inside the cave stopped suddenly. Xerath waited, her finger on the trigger of the energy pistol. Every sound made her jump. Every shadow looked like another stalker about to attack. Xerath, Marcus called from inside the cave. It's safe, come in. She walked carefully through the cave entrance. Inside, she found Marcus standing over the body of a huge crystal stalker. His armor was cracked and smoking. Blood ran down his left arm, but he was still moving near the back of the cave. She saw the other survivors Marcus had mentioned. Crix the Crex was pale green instead of his normal dark green. One of his arms was badly cut. Next, the silicoid looked like a walking tree made of metal. Cracks ran through her crystal body, and she was making soft musical sounds that Marcus had said meant pain in her species. Are you hurt? Marcus asked Xerath. No, I killed one of them outside. Marcus looked surprised. With a broken wing? As I told the dead stalker, I may not be able to fly, but I am still Velinari. Crix made a sound that might have been laughter. The human's warrior spirit is spreading to his friends. Marcus was already checking everyone's injuries and planning their next move. This was just a scouting attack. The main pack will be here soon. We need to find a better place to defend. How many more are coming? Xerath asked. I counted at least 10 more tracks outside. Maybe more. Marcus looked around the cave. This place is too open. They can phase through the walls anywhere they want. Nex made a series of musical tones. Crix translated for the others. She says there is an old mining complex about 2 miles from here. The walls are made of processed metal that disrupts phasing abilities. Can we reach it before the stalkers catch up? Marcus asked. Crix looked at Xerath's broken wings and Nex's cracked body. Not all of us can move that fast. Then we make a stand here, Marcus said simply. We'll use the cave entrance as a choke point. Force them to come at us one at a time. Xerath stared at him. You would risk your life for people you barely know? You could leave us here and save yourself? No, Marcus said firmly. I couldn't. That's not how humans work. Crix made a bitter sound. Humans and their pack bonding. My people always said it would get you all killed someday. Maybe, Marcus admitted. But we'd rather die as friends than live as strangers. They spent the next hour preparing for the attack. Marcus used his engineering skills to set up traps near the cave entrance. Crix, despite his injuries, helped design electromagnetic fields that would disrupt the stalker's phasing ability. Nex used her crystal body to create resonance patterns that would confuse the stalkers. Echolocation, Zerat H felt useless at first. She could not fly to scout for enemies. She could not lift heavy objects with her broken wings. But Marcus kept finding jobs for her to do. She used her keen eyesight to watch for approaching stalkers. She used her knowledge of veterinary technology to help improve their makeshift weapons. "You are treating me like I am still useful," she said to Marcus while they worked. "Because you are useful. Your wings don't define who you are any more than my lack of wings defines me. But flying is what makes a veterinary special." Marcus stopped what he was doing and looked at her seriously. "No, what makes you special is right here." He pointed to her head. "And here." He pointed to her heart. "Everything else is just equipment." The first stalker appeared at sunset. It materialized at the cave entrance like a ghost made of living crystal. Marcus shot it immediately, but two more phased through the walls behind it. The battle began. The stalkers were incredibly smart. They learned from each attack, changing their tactics to avoid the traps. When the electromagnetic fields stopped them from phasing, they used their natural camouflage to become nearly invisible. When their camouflage failed, they coordinated their attacks to come from multiple directions at once. Marcus fought like a machine. Every shot counted. Every movement had a purpose. He used the cave walls to funnel the stalkers into kill zones. He used their own intelligence against them, letting them think they had found a weakness before springing another trap. But there were too many of them. For every stalker they killed, two more appeared. Marcus was running out of ammunition. Everyone was getting tired. "We can't keep this up much longer," Crick said during a brief pause in the fighting. "Then we change the rules," Marcus said. He looked at the ceiling of the cave. "Zerat H, you said you studied geology in pilot school? How stable are these cave walls?" She looked around carefully. "Not very stable. The rock is old and cracked. Why?" "Because I have an idea that's either brilliant or suicidal." Marcus pulled out his remaining explosives. "If we can't beat them, maybe we can bury them." "That would bury us too," Crix pointed out. "Not if we do it right." "Next, can you create a resonance pattern that would weaken the rock in specific places?" The silicoid made questioning musical sounds. Crix translated. "She wants to know which places." Marcus pointed to several spots on the cave walls. There, and there. "If those supports fail, the whole ceiling comes down, but only at the front of the cave. The back part where we're standing should stay intact." "Should?" Zerat H asked. "About 60% chance we survive. But if we do nothing, our chances are 0. It was a desperate plan. But it was also brilliant. The stalkers expected them to fight like normal people. They did not expect their prey to try to destroy the entire battlefield. The next wave of stalkers attacked just as they finished preparing. Marcus set off the explosives at exactly the right moment. The cave ceiling collapsed with a sound like thunder. Tons of rock fell on the attacking stalkers, crushing them instantly. When the dust cleared, they were trapped. The cave entrance was completely blocked by fallen rock. But they were alive and the stalkers were dead. Now what? Crix asked. Marcus was already checking his equipment. "Now we dig. And hope a rescue ship finds us before we run out of air." "How will they know where to look?" Marcus pulled out a small device she had not seen before. "Emergency beacon. Military grade. I've been saving it for when we really needed it." "Why did you not use it before?" "Because it only works once and the battery only lasts 12 hours. I wanted to make sure we were all together before I activated it." Zerat H realized what he had done. He had spent 6 days searching for survivors, risking his life over and over again. Also, he could save everyone at the same time. A more practical person would have activated the beacon immediately and saved only themselves. But Marcus was not a practical person. He was something much more dangerous. He was someone who cared more about others than about himself. "You humans are crazy," she said. Marcus grinned and activated the beacon. "Yeah, we get that a lot." Outside the collapsed cave, she could hear more stalkers arriving. They were clawing at the rocks, trying to dig through to their prey. But it would take them hours to break through. Rescue would come first. She was sure of it. Marcus had taught her something important about humans. When they made a promise to protect someone, they did not give up. Ever. The rescue ships arrived exactly 11 hours and 47 minutes after Marcus activated the beacon. Xerath knew because she had been counting every minute, wondering if they would run out of air before help came. The first sound they heard was drilling. High-powered mining equipment cutting through the fallen rock. Then voices calling in multiple languages. Human voices, Velinary voices, and others she did not recognize. "Sounds like the whole neighborhood showed up," Marcus said. He was sitting against the cave wall, his injured arm in a makeshift sling. Despite everything they had been through, he still managed to smile. "I hear Velinary rescue equipment," Xerath said in amazement. "But how?" "My people were not supposed to be in this star system. Maybe they came looking for you specifically. Or maybe they just heard the distress call and decided to help." The idea that her people would cooperate with humans was almost impossible to believe. The Velinary had always been proud and independent. They did not ask for help, and they rarely gave it to others. The drilling sounds got louder. Then suddenly there was light streaming through a hole in the rocks. A human voice called out, "Anyone alive in there?" "4 survivors." Marcus shouted back. "2 injured, 2 mobile." "Stand back." "We're coming through." The hole grew bigger quickly. Soon it was large enough for people to climb through. The first person through was a human soldier with medical equipment. The second was a Velinary in the blue armor of a rescue specialist. "Xerath of the Cloud City Defense Wing?" The Velinary asked. "Yes, that is me." "Flight Commander Talvin. Your unit sent me to find you." Talvin looked at her broken wings and made a sound of dismay. "What happened to you?" "She got shot down by the same pulse that hit us," Marcus said. "But she's been fighting like a warrior ever since." Talvin looked at Marcus with suspicion. "You are human?" "Staff Sergeant Marcus Chun. I've been taking care of your pilot." "Taking care of her?" Talvin sounded confused. "But humans and Velinary have no alliance. Why would you risk yourself for one of our people?" Marcus looked tired. "Do we really have to do this conversation again?" She needed help. "I was here. That's all the reason anyone needs." The human medic was already examining everyone's injuries. "We need to get them to the medical ship immediately. The Velinary has serious wing damage, and the human has lost a lot of blood." They were carried out of the cave on stretchers. Outside, Xerath H. saw something that made her think she was dreaming. Human ships and Velinary ships were parked side by side. Human soldiers and Velinary pilots were working together, sharing equipment and information. "How is this possible?" she asked Talvin. "The humans sent out a general distress call when they realized their people were missing. They asked anyone in the area to help with the search. 3 different species responded." "And our people agreed to this?" Talvin looked embarrassed. "The flight commander said that any warrior brave enough to survive alone on Zarian 7 deserved to be rescued, regardless of politics." They were loaded onto a human medical ship. Xerath had expected human medicine to be primitive and painful. Instead, she found herself in a medical bay that was more advanced than anything on her homeworld. The human doctors worked alongside Velinary medical specialists. They shared their knowledge freely, combining human surgical techniques with Velinary bone regeneration technology. Neither species tried to take credit or claim superiority. "Your wing bones are healing well," Dr. Sarah Kim told her 3 days later. "But you'll need physical therapy to regain full flight capability. Will I be able to fly again?" "Better than before, if you work hard at it. We've used a new technique that combines human titanium implants with Velinary bone growth stimulators. Your wings will actually be stronger than they were originally." Over the next 2 weeks, Xerath watched the ship operate and learned amazing things about human society. The crew included dozens of different species, all working together with incredible efficiency. No one seemed to care about rank or species when it came to getting the job done. She saw human engineers learning from Krex technicians. She saw Velinary pilots teaching human pilots new flying techniques. She saw silicoid data analysts sharing information with human intelligence officers. Most surprising of all, she saw that it worked. The ship ran smoother than any pure species vessel she had ever seen. Problems were solved faster because everyone brought different knowledge and perspectives. Marcus visited her in the medical bay every day. His arm was healing well, but he walked with a slight limp from his old injuries. They talked about everything, their homeworlds, their families, their dreams for the future. "I have been thinking about what you said," she told him one day. "About wings being just equipment. What about it?" "You were right. My culture teaches that we are only valuable when we can fly. But I did valuable things with broken wings. I fought enemies. I helped solve problems. I made friends with people I had never met before." Marcus smiled. "Sounds like you learned something important." "I learned that being useful is not about what your body can do. It is about what your mind chooses to do." On her last day in the medical bay, Dr. Kim cleared her for light flight training. They took her to the ship's flight deck, a huge open area designed for testing small aircraft. "Take it slow," Dr. Kim warned. "Your bones are healed, but your muscles need time to remember how to fly." Zereth spread her wings carefully. They felt different than before. Stronger, but also heavier. She could feel the titanium implants that reinforced her bones. Human technology merged with veterinary biology. She flapped her wings once, twice, and then pushed off from the deck. For a moment she wobbled, uncertain of her balance. Then her instincts took over and she soared. She had never flown so well in her life. The human modifications had not just healed her wings. They had made her better. Faster, more agile, more powerful than any normal veterinary. But the best part was not the flying itself. The best part was looking down and seeing Marcus watching her with a huge grin on his face. Seeing human and veterinary crew members cheering together. Seeing Cricks and Necks, also recovered now. Applauding her success, she realized that she had learned to fly in a completely new way. Not just through the air, but through friendship. Not just with her own people, but with anyone who needed help or wanted to help others. When she landed, Marcus was waiting for her. "How did it feel?" he asked. "Like coming home, but also like discovering something new." "That's the best kind of flying." A few days later, the ship reached the nearest space station. It was time for everyone to go back to their regular assignments. Zereth was supposed to return to her unit and resume her normal duties. Instead, she requested a transfer. "You want to join a human veterinary joint unit?" Flight Commander Talvin asked in disbelief. "But why?" "You are one of our best pilots." "Because I learned something important from the humans. Working together makes us all stronger. I want to be part of that." "What did these humans teach you that your own people could not?" Zereth thought about Marcus, about his willingness to risk everything for strangers, about human doctors sharing their knowledge freely, about the crew of the medical ship, all different species working as one family. "They taught me that being flightless does not mean you cannot soar. And they taught me that the best way to soar is to help others fly with you." Her transfer was approved. She became one of the first veterinary to serve in an integrated unit. The work was challenging, but it was also the most rewarding thing she had ever done. Sometimes, late at night, she would think about that terrible day when she crashed on Zarian 7. She had thought it was the end of her story. Instead, it had been the beginning of a much better one. She had been wounded and alone, until a human soldier appeared to save her. But Marcus had not just saved her life. He had taught her how to save others. And that, she realized, was the most important lesson of all.